Hey, I think I'm live, and let's see if I can. I think I'm going to have to put a little less light on. Give me 1 second here. All right, we finally got some sunshine in Florida today, which is a beautiful thing because it hasn't been that sunny here. And this is the sunshine state, you know? All right, Susan is here, which I can always count on. Can you hear me, Susan? Just type in yes if you can, so that I know that I am live, I am being heard, and then I am going to get going. And today's exciting. Hi, hi, Susan. Can you hear me? Yes, no, hello. Yeah, okay, I got a thumbs up. I guess that means yes. Okay, yes, I got a yes. All right, so we're going to jump into this training today, and I have like a lot of notes here today. So I'm going to do my best to get through this and do it relatively short because it's a big topic that's important, and it's probably something that a lot of people don't really think about when they think about building their business, right? So the topic today is embracing the power of rest and recreation. Now, look, I'm an entrepreneur. And in case you're listening to this and you don't know me, my name is Janet Clark, and I am the CEO and founder of The Freedom Shift. Now, The Freedom Shift is a business where I focus on high ticket sales, and primarily I am a sales matchmaker. So my claim to fame is that I help coaches and consultants to expand their business by matching them with high ticket professional salespeople. And we do that by using our heart flow sales process, which is a way that we can really represent our clients' businesses with a lot of integrity and maintain your brand and all the work that clients and our customers have put into building up their business. So that's a little bit of background. But anyway, the most important thing is today that I want to talk about is that everybody who I work with, and those of you who are listening to this, I'm sure, are entrepreneurs. And as entrepreneurs, we started our business because we had a big dream. And part of that dream revolves around living our life of freedom. And that means building financial freedom, time freedom, and lifestyle freedom, right? So that we can spend more time with our families, be able to appreciate other aspects of our life besides just working all the time. So I'm going to share with you something today that I have figured out is extremely important for those of us who are entrepreneurs. And this maybe even extends to some of the people who are in the corporate world. You know who you are, right? Who are looking to get out of corporate. And part of that is because we tend to take our work very seriously and make it a part of ourselves, and that's good. However, because we live in a world now where we're super connected, it's very hard to get away from work. So even when we're not physically in our office or physically working, right, at work, we still have this device that connects us to everything work related. And so how do we find the moments to rest and to have this recreation? And what does that really even mean? So look, if you are buried in your business, then you really need to listen up here, because we've all been there at one time or another, and it will kill your spirit. No matter how successful your business looks on paper, if you are buried under the weight of it, then it is going to not only kill your spirit, but it's going to destroy your relationships. It's going to wreck your health, and it's totally going to be regrettable down the road, right? When you look back on your life and you say, what the hell happened here? Like all of this time went by and all I did was work. So we want to really talk about being able to find these moments where you can find the way to rest and have some recreation in your life. So let's talk about like, what does it really mean? And it's kind of interesting because the dictionary definition for rest is to cease work or movement in order to relax, refresh, and recover your strength. And the definition for recreation is it's an activity that's done for enjoyment when one is not working. So in one case, resting is ceasing to have activity in order to rejuvenate, and recreation is doing an activity in order to rejuvenate. However, what they have in common is ceasing to work. So in other words, regardless of whether you're doing something that's getting you exercise or giving you the opportunity to, be vibrant and do something fun, if it's work related, it doesn't count, right? So in both cases, it requires that we cease to work. Okay, so despite our best intentions when we start our business, and for those of you who may be considering even moving from corporate to entrepreneurship, it's very difficult to figure out really where the dividing lines are, where to stop the activity. So I want to talk to you about that today, because when you go into this overwork stage, it's really detrimental to you spiritually, physically, and emotionally. And it can really cause depression and all sorts of anxiety and stress and all kinds of things that we don't want. So without ever intending it to happen, many entrepreneurs do get caught up in this frenzy of busyness. And I've talked with literally thousands of entrepreneurs, because that's what I do every day, right? I'm talking to entrepreneurs about their business. And, I have figured out that at every stage of the business, we can get caught up in this we find ourselves kind of going down that path of overwork and overwhelm. So in the early stages, it's almost like this frenetic activity, because we're learning and we're trying to absorb all kinds of new information, and we're trying to figure out like what direction to go in and chasing all the shiny objects. But what happens is we're buying this program and we're joining, this group, and we're trying to learn, this new information. And so there's just so many directions that we're running in, and it's kind of frenetic, and it never ends, because there's always something more to learn. There's always a new way to go about building the business. There's new strategies, new tactics, new techniques. And so it comes to this point where we're trying to do a million things at once, and it can really drain us. And there's never that point where we feel like, okay, I got what I needed to get done today, because there's always a list a mile longer, right, than what we're actually, what we're accomplishing. So then the second stage that very often happens, so that usually is the first couple of years of the business. And then as the business starts to kind of get some roots under it, and we start to get some revenue flowing, and we have some customers to care for, and we've got some sales calls to be on, and we've got some finances to deal with, and there's all these hats that we have to wear in the business, then we get to this point where we're just like carrying a lot of weight on our shoulders every single day. And again, we're never really catching up, because the business just takes on a life of its own. And so we're spending a lot of time putting out fires and just trying to manage the day-to-day activities of the business. So when we're in those situations, we are like totally overwhelmed, we're overworked, we're on overload, and it's really hard to find a way to break free, like how, without feeling so much guilt or feeling like we're going to lose ground. So, I'm going to give you an example of somebody that I spoke with yesterday. And she was about 5 or 6 years into her business. And she was saying that this was exactly the process that she had been through. Like her first 2 years, she just worked 14 hours a day. I mean, she worked herself to the bone. And then she got herself to a position where the business was like this big machine that she was like trying to run all by herself every day. And yeah, she's got some contract people and whatnot, but she still got the bulk of it on her shoulders. And, she said to me, I haven't had a vacation in 5 years. And even prior to that, in the beginning of my business, when I went on I do a lot of cruising. So we kind of had that, we were talking about that, but she said, I went on a cruise. She said, I was the person on the cruise that was paying tons of money for internet connection and having to spend half of my day working. So obviously that's not a vacation, right? That's just doing your work in a different place, but you're still working. And so the thing was that, she expressed to me, she said, I'm totally exhausted from this. And I know I'm not maximizing my potential. Like I know I'm not doing as much work as I want to be doing to make a difference in the world, right? I'm doing as much work as I can, but I'm not making the impact that I want to. And I know I should be. I know there's more that I could be doing. And I don't know how to get out from under it, because no matter what I try to do, I don't even have any time or space to figure it out. And, here's the thing. She didn't go into her business. That was not her dream when she started her business, right? She had a dream to create a life of freedom. She wants to build a legacy. She wants to create something that's going to make an impact in the world. But in fact, what she created was just this huge job for herself, right? So what I want to talk to you about today is what to do if you get into that situation. So I recently read a quote. It was, in the morning paper that I breeze through once in a while in the morning. There was a little, my horoscope for the day, but I had a quote in it that I thought was really interesting. And it was, nothing is possible without empty space. And it made me think about the book, The Science of Getting Rich, which is one of the books that I really enjoy. And it was written a long time ago, I think in the 40s by Wallace Wattles. But in that book, he talks about the same thing, right? He says, like, we really only have 3 motives for our life, right? How we live. And that is, we live for our body. So we want to maintain a healthy body. We live for our mind. So we want to continuously be challenging our mind, growing, learning new things, right? And we live for our soul. So whatever that essence of us, whatever our purpose is, whatever that's spiritual, or maybe you're not even spiritual, but you know that you have a deeper purpose for being here. So we know that's really why we have the business. The business is to fuel those things that really matter to us. And he goes on to say that you can create the life that you desire and the results that you want by creating space to do that. And you do that you have to have space to think, right? So it's your thoughts that are going to actually create new realities for you. Now, I like to think of that in the word recreation, right? Because recreation is an activity that we do. But if you think about the word recreation, it's recreate. So recreation is an opportunity to recreate the reality that we have already created for ourselves. So this is really something that when you look at your life, if you don't like it, you must recognize that you created it. So the only way that it's going to change is if you choose to recreate it. And in order to do that, it has to start here. You have to have time and space to think about what you really want your life to be like, because that's how you get where you want to go, and you create what you want. So let's see. I was also reading an article in Psychology Today, and they talked about the difference between the downtime of a machine. So when you turn a machine off to give it a rest, right, to cool it down or whatever, versus downtime for a human being. So the interesting thing about the human being is they don't shut down when they're at rest. So what happens when we take time for rest and recreation is that our minds and our bodies are actually being rebuilt and regenerated. So as long as we are continuing to work ourselves to death, we cannot regenerate ourselves. We can't become renewed. So it's so important, wherever you are in your business right now, to take a step out of the business and figure out how are you going to shift so that you do have time to rest and regenerate both your body, your mind, your spirit, every aspect of it. So I'm going to share with you a few things of how it's worked out for me and how I learned this, which is kind of interesting. My first mentor was fortunate, or maybe it was providence, that I worked with her as my first business mentor when I came into this coaching space. But she taught me the thing called flex time. And she was really, really big. You know, a lot of people call it balance, but I don't even like to call it balance, because I don't think we ever have a balanced life, right? I think that what we have to do is we have to have presence, and we have to make space for all of the individual things that matter to us. And then we have to be present for those things. And it's not always done in balance. It's sometimes just, you know, you may be making a sprint at work, and you may take a period of time where you're just going to say, this is it. I am like totally going to focus on work, but it's a sprint. We can only do it for so long. And then I have to take a rest. And recognizing that you cannot make your whole life a sprint, because nobody can maintain that. So that was what she taught. And if I did learn a few business things from her, but primarily I would say the biggest takeaway was that it's really, really important to establish this time for other things besides working, and that the most successful business owners actually do make time for rest and recreation. So that was a philosophy that was really important to me, the flex time idea. Now, the way she structured hers is not, I'm not saying that everybody should structure their time exactly the same, but I'm going to tell you what she taught. And it's been something that I aspire to. I can't tell you that I do it exactly the way she does it, but it's stuck with me enough. So every Friday, she would take what she called a flex day. So Friday was the day that she didn't schedule work. She would schedule things like hair appointments and maybe going out to lunch with her friends or whatever that she wanted to do. And because it was a flex day, occasionally she might schedule something work-wise, but for the most part, her flex time was her personal time. Then she also had every month a flex week. And again, that was a week that she didn't schedule any of her regular stuff that she did with her business. And she might schedule some kind of a mastermind meeting, or she might just use it for personal time. But that flex week was on the calendar prior to the year starting. And every year, she would literally take a month off. And in her case, she liked Christmas, so she would take December off. And so that was blocked out as a time that she was not going to commit to doing business things. Now, obviously, in order to do that, you have to get to a certain level where you have a team, right? So team is crucial. If when you get buried, right? You have to figure out how you're going to get a team or some level of support so that you can put these systems in place so that you can actually run your business and not have your business running you into the ground. So let's talk about what you really want to make space for, right? So I do a little bit of, I have what I call my freedom plan that I put in place every year, and I could share more about that with you. I talked about it in the last week's training as well, that I actually will be doing this. I help people create their freedom plans. But part of it is looking at time as the one thing that is not unlimited. So the amount of people who you can bring on to help you in your business, that's unlimited. The amount of money that you can make in your business, that's unlimited. However, the amount of time that you have in a week, a month, or a year is finite. So the most important thing to recognize as you're going into each year or each time that you're putting together a plan for your next month or whatever for your business is to recognize that you have to figure out right up front where your rest and recreation times are going to come and what those are going to look like for you. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about how I do that, right? So I like to make time every day. And I think everybody really should do this because based on personal experience and also people who I know do it, I know it works amazingly well, is to take some time every single day to set your intention for the day, to go through some gratitude, to really look at what you really want so that you can create in your mind the vision and reinforce your dream. And so that I'm going to go into that in a little bit more in a minute. But there's two things that you can do as you determine how you're going to divide up your time. And one of those is what I call the 90-minute concept. And the other is to create the freedom plan, which is really the most important thing that you can do. Find a mentor who can really help you to plan out what your business is going to look like. Again, if you want to talk to me about that, I'm always happy to chat with people about that, because part of what I do help people do is get unstuck when they get buried in their business. But let's talk a little bit about this 90-minute concept, because that's something you can do right now, and it will totally help you to probably be just as productive, if not more productive. Because remember, when you're finding time for the rest and relaxation and the recreation, you will be even more energized and rejuvenated. So you will actually have better thoughts, better ideas, and more energy to accomplish things. So the 90-minute thing is interesting because it's something that has, it kind of shows up in so many areas of life, that 90 minutes seems to be a period that humans can sustain focus, like really strong focus or attention to detail. And it's interesting because a soccer game might be 90 minutes, or other sporting things the length might be set at 90 minutes, or a lot of movies are about 90 minutes, right? Because that's about the attention span that we have as human beings to do something. And it's interesting also that sleep tends to operate in 90-minute cycles with the different stages or cycles of sleep. So anyway, so if you can kind of get into this 90-minute concept, this can really help you. So the way that I do that is I spend my first 90 minutes every single day doing those things that I was talking about, right? I do 3 things: journaling, and I do meditating, and I do some sort of well, I call it the morning manifesto, but I do some sort of visioning for what I want. So my journaling consists of sitting down and really grounding myself into the gratitude for what happened yesterday. So no matter what happened yesterday, even if it was a bad day, there's always something that be grateful for, right? So maybe I'm just grateful that I got through it. I don't know, but whatever. I always start with that, like what I'm thankful for. And because I have a deep belief in God, I talk to God. But for other people, it might just be, I'm grateful that the universe, showed up and I showed up in the universe. But there's things, right? Maybe I just felt good yesterday, and maybe I had some good conversations with someone. Maybe I closed a couple sales. Maybe I had a fun conversation with my grandson. Maybe my husband and I went out and had a great dinner. So there's always something to be grateful for. And I find that when I put myself into that mode of gratitude, it really just relaxes me. So rather than getting up every day and starting the frenzy of activity, I just stop and take some time. So I tend to write, I don't know, maybe a half an hour or so, but it could be different for different people. So during my journaling, I also usually ask for what I want, right? Well, what do I really want to happen? And part of that next stage is like really reflecting on what I call the morning manifesto. But what that is really just a written document that talks about my values, my priorities, how I want my life to unfold, what I really want to focus on, what I want to be known for in my life. All of these things that I reinforce in my brain every single day in a quiet space so that I'm centered, right? So I think part of this rest that we do is not just sleeping, but it's also just being centered within ourselves, like feeling present in the moment and not in this harried state. And, I try not to even go into my email in the morning. Occasionally I do look at it before I start journaling, but I find that when I don't, it's actually better. So again, this is always a work in progress, and we're always learning how to be better at getting our rest and recreation in. So I'm not saying that I even have it mastered, but I've definitely found a way that is helpful. And so then comes the morning manifesto, and sometimes that changes a little bit. Like maybe I have a new vision. There's something that I really see that I would like to, my life, a direction I want to go, or something that's really important for me. And I'll put that in writing. And then finally is the meditation. So mostly I do a silent meditation for about a half an hour, but I've been meditating now for a long time. So it's not that hard for me to zone out and truly get in a meditative state. But if you haven't been doing it, I really recommend guided meditations as a good way to quiet the mind and to be able to, you can find them on YouTube even. But there's some great guided meditations out there. Or take a class and really start practicing, going into a meditation practice, because it will shift your everything about even your health. People's blood pressure goes down. Bodies get healed because people can get into these quiet restorative states. So I highly recommend meditation. I've started doing it now about probably almost 10 years ago. And it's been a practice that I've never, ever stopped, and I would never want to give up. And believe me, I've said to myself so many times, I should stop and meditate in the middle of the day, but I don't find that I do it. So it's really important for me to have that structured time in the morning to do it. So that's one 90-minute cycle. And, you know, there's other 90-minute blocks that I like to carve out in my life. And some of them are exercise. So I like to have something, I'd like to have it every day, but honestly and truly, I don't. But I do strive right now to get at least 3 90-minute physical exercise sessions in every single week. Hopefully next year, I'm going to make that even better. And there could be 90-minute blocks where, you know, I block out blocks for my spiritual classes that I take. So that might only be once a week, sometimes twice a week, but those are always on the calendar and they're non-negotiable. So the things that you put on the calendar for your own rest and recreation need to be non-negotiable. So you don't erase them and put work things in there, right? So that's part of your commitment to yourself and recognizing that you'll be so much better for it. The other thing is, and this is really part of my freedom plan that I build out before I even start a year, but I know what kind of vacations I'm going to take, how long those vacations are going to be. I know when I'm going to go on retreats, then I usually do that 4 times a year. And I know how long I'm going to be traveling for those retreats. And when I go on retreats, I don't take my computer. When I go on business masterminds, that gets blocked out because I also try not to work during those times. So yes, it is work related in a way, but I really try to make those times to just unwind, be social, enjoy interacting with other people, enjoy being away somewhere, maybe hopefully in a warm place at the beach. But I find that, you know, times that I want to block off to focus on the 3 real important areas to me that I put into my freedom plan. And again, I talked a little bit about this last week in our training, but those areas are relationships. And if you have a lot of relationships with, you know, you have a lot of friends, or you have a lot big family like I do, or you, you know, just want to spend a lot of time with your significant other, those times need to be first. They need to be blocked out before the work time. Because what difference does it make if you build $1 million business and you don't get to enjoy the people you love? I mean, as human beings, this is like a crucial part of our experience here, is to have these relationships and appreciate them. And we thrive on them. So that's just, to me, extremely important. So that relationships is important. And then the second is, I call it personal, but it's really health related. So everything about my spiritual health, my physical health, my emotional health, whatever it is that I need, that gets put into the plan before work. And then finally, what I call wealth, and that is giving some attention to the assets that I have working for me, so that everything that I get in my life is not built on what I bring in new, but I'm actually have this accumulation of wealth. Well, can I get that wealth to produce income for me so that it's working on its own passively? So I do spend some time getting counseled on that and focusing on that a little bit, but it's a different kind of work. It's a different kind of thought process. So I guess to sum it up, the most important thing to realize is that your goal when you started your business, if you're anything like me, was to create a life of freedom. And you had a dream that you wanted to impact as many people as you could, but you want to do it in a way that doesn't kill you. So the things that are going to fuel you, that are going to make you more successful, are those times where you're focused on regenerating. And you do that through rest, and you do it through recreation. And again, recreation is that thing that I think of it as recreation, right? How you think about what you're doing. So to sum it up, that's super important. If you're recognizing that you are buried in your business, then the thing to do is to step out of it for a just short period of time to recreate how you want that to look. And we can't always do that alone. Sometimes we need somebody to help us with that. And if you feel like you need somebody to chat about that with you and kind of help you to figure out what you need next to get unburied in your business, then reach out to me and I promise to direct you in the right direction, right? It may be that I can help you. It may be that one of my network buddies can help you. But one way or another, I have a huge network of amazing people, including Pat Rock, who I guess I got to say Rock, who is on here, who is great for those people transitioning from the corporate world, or maybe even trying to figure out how to implement this in the corporate life. Pat is amazing at that. There's so many people that can help you in so many different ways as an entrepreneur that I am well connected to. So one way or another, use me as a resource and we will get you going where you need to go. So thanks for tuning in today. And I'll be back next week. I don't know. It's Wednesday today. Sometimes I'm on here Thursday, but we'll let you know. But one way or another, if you miss me live, you'll be listening to me on the replay. So thanks for tuning in, and I will be back again. So bye for now.